All right, I am going to go ahead and press record so that we can kind of stay on track for time. My house cleaner is actually arriving in a second, so if she needs you, I might have to step out for just a second. But last week when I hopped back on my first coffee chat in a while, I started to brainstorm, like what I wanted to deliver for you guys. And I was so happy when I asked last night that you guys wanted for me to talk about leadership because it's my favorite. I seriously feel like out of all the things that I do in coaching, mentoring and teaching people just how to grow themselves as a leader, how to build up their teams is my favorite thing. And so I have to remember that I've been doing this a long time, and sometimes I can get way too advanced with things. So I want to kind of do a mix of really basic, really honest, really vulnerable, and then just like a little bit advanced, because part of leadership is actually being able to think ahead, being able to think about, okay, I know what my goals are. I know what my vision is, and I know where I want to be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And as I was writing my notes today, I realized that being able to see things before they happen, I think is one of my superpowers. Being able to think ahead about the things that I have to do now so that I can achieve my goals has been honestly a huge part of my leadership journey. So I'll keep it basic for you guys. And I went way back in my archives and I actually pulled up some of the old stuff that I learned leadership from that have been saved on my very first computer that I ever had years ago that is now on this computer here. So I'm going to share that with you guys because I feel like even still to this day, when I think of how I train my coaches and how I help other people with leadership, Christina Delgado taught it to me. It's always been ingrained in my mind. So I'm going to share that with you, and I hope it's like the biggest gift that I can give to you guys today. But before I hop in, I don't know why I'm so out of breath. I just got off a quick little live video with my upline, Elizabeth Hartke. And by the way, since we have so many new faces, if you guys don't follow my upline, she's been a coach for 8+ years now, please go follow her. Her name's Elizabeth Hartke. She's achieved all the greatest ranks in this company. She's done all the things. She's bought the dream farmhouse. She has 3 kids, amazing family. She's just really the epitome of leadership, and she has influenced so much of who I follow, what I've learned, how I applied leadership to my business. You should definitely go follow her, but she is actually organizing our own organizational virtual summit. So because Coach Summit is not happening in New Orleans because of all the craziness in the world, we're actually tomorrow, we're going to have a meeting with all the leaders, and we're going to do a really badass virtual summit for our organization. We're going to have speakers that come on that are within Beachbody, outside of Beachbody. And the reason I want to bring this up now is this is really important for all of us to kind of come together as I release the info. We're actually going to be nominating people for awards. So just like at the Beachbody Coach Summit, they had the CEO award, the leadership award. We want to do that within our organization. But the only way that that's going to be possible is if all of us come together and nominate people and give information. We're also going to have a top recruiter award. This isn't set in stone, but these are just examples of what we're kind of brainstorming up. And then we're also going to do our own Beachbody challenge. So there's going to be prizes, there's going to be tons of recognition. And so people are going to really have to come together and submit before and after so that we can all vote. So there's a lot of love and work going into a coach summit for our organization. So I just want to share that with you. And once I find out more of the details tomorrow, I'll let you know. All right, so if you guys can do me the biggest favor ever, like whenever I do team calls, my favorite thing is when you guys engage, and our team is so badass at that. So if you could ask me or any other leader any question about leadership, leading people, leading in general, will you guys throw it in the chat box? And if it takes you a second to think of it, that's totally cool. And as I'm going through, I think that's going to help me gauge what you guys need, because this is such a fully loaded call. Like I could talk for hours on this, but I really want to stick to what leadership has meant to me, what I think it should mean for you. And there's different kinds of leaderships too. There's leadership that you see out there in the world, and then there's leadership that pertains to our Beachbody world. And so I kind of want to bring them together. But when I was writing my notes this morning, I actually like went back and I whipped out all my old leadership books, and they're all by John C. Maxwell. And if you're in the business world, everyone knows that John C. Maxwell is the guru of leadership. And the thing about his books is it's kind of the unsexy stuff that a lot of people get bored reading. It's not as exciting. It's not like the Gabby Bernstein books where it makes you feel good. But I really want to set the tone and let you guys know that I really believe that there's different kinds of personal development in this business. The first is the Me book, which is like the Gabby Bernstein, which is the Super Attractor, the Spirit Junkie. And then secondly, I really believe that you need business development, which is going to be like the John C. Maxwell's, the Brendan Burchards. And then the third type of personal development is experience. Because you can shove your face in these books all day long. So, you know, like, let's say you go and read all these leadership books, and there's like triple the amount that he's written, but this is just what I actually think I sold some too. So I've probably read more than this. Experience is so important because, especially for John C. Maxwell, he puts so much information into teaching leadership, but then if you don't go apply it to your business and apply it to how you're working with your challengers and your coaches, then it doesn't really matter, right? So keep in mind, as you guys are learning leadership, don't just collect and gather the information. Make sure that you're challenging yourself to go and apply it. And leadership, or I should say, everything rises and falls on leadership. So I'll say it again. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I feel like what's going on in the world right now is kind of the perfect example of how everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And especially in this business, there's been some challenging moments in my career where I've had to point the finger back at myself, and it's never easy to do that if your business isn't growing, if your personal growth journey is kind of stuck, if you feel like your team is just, it's missing something. Just know that everything rises and falls on leadership. So you might think that you have to go and focus on something else. If you're ever feeling stuck and not sure what to focus on, I would beg and plead you to go challenge yourself to learn more about leadership. And there's multiple layers of it. And the three layers in this business is first, leading yourself. And so sometimes that phase alone takes coaches years, which is not a bad thing. This is actually something I want us to celebrate. That's why everyone's pace in this business is different. That's why everyone's success rate in the beginning looks different. Don't compare yourself, and just know that the first layer of leadership is learning to lead yourself first. And I know for me, I'm seeing questions. This is great. I know for me, I was put in a lot of situations where I was required to lead myself very early on. So thankful to my parents that they always pushed me into opportunities. Gymnastics, being a gymnast growing up for 10 plus years competitively, that required a massive amount of drive and discipline for myself. I had to get out there and in front of the judges and in front of people and do these performances. And I feel like so many times, a lot of us, if we've never had those experiences of doing the uncomfortable stuff, it's so much easier to kind of just let ourselves kind of coast through life and not challenge ourselves in a big way. So leading ourselves through drive and discipline is super important. I want to pull up my notes so that I make sure I stay on track too. So I'm going to talk a lot today about the first two layers of leadership, which first, you lead yourself. Second, you lead others. Third, you lead leaders. I'm not going to probably go too much into step 3 today. But if you were to ask me in a nutshell, like what leadership is honestly, to me, living an intentional life that also inspires other people. Before coaching, before personal development, before really learning leadership, I feel like I just kind of went about life for myself. Well, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do that. So I was going to try to put my headphones on because I'm getting distracted with my house cleaner. Squirrel brain over here. So living an intentional life. So today, when I got up, I knew exactly how I wanted my day to go. I knew exactly where I wanted to apply myself so that I would have my joy, my happiness, my energy, but not only for me, that's why we share on social media, It's also so that we can inspire other people. So there's this weird shift that happens in your mind, in the coaching world and in the business world and the leadership world, where it goes less from being about what you want to do today. It's more about, okay, yes, I have to lead myself first, but also there's a second portal in your mind that opens up is how can I also help and lead other people today? And sometimes that's difficult for people in the beginning stages of being a coach because they're really struggling with mastering and leading themselves first. Never beat yourself up for that. I want you guys to celebrate the struggle of going through leading yourself first, because I think that learning those skills and learning the discipline to lead yourself to do the things you don't want to do, you learn that skill now and you go through those struggles and it's going to serve you in such a big way down the road. I think if you're a mom, you know a lot about that. I promised myself that when I became a mom that I would not forget about myself, and learning leadership helped me. I have to take care of myself first so that I can be a better mom to also be able to take care of Nixon and my family and my business. And so it's a lot. So having that skill of being able to take off the hats and put, the hat back on of I take care of myself, but I'm also going to inspire others. So it's kind of this back and forth pendulum swing. So leadership to me in a nutshell is leading yourself, but choosing to also serve others. I feel like I can't come up with the right words of how to explain it to people other than knowing that leadership is about serving other people. Now, there's also an extreme leadership that can be hurtful to you, especially in our industry of health and fitness, where if you do everything for everyone else first, hold on here. If you do everything for everyone else first, then it's going to be impossible to lead yourself first. So that's why that first layer is leading yourself. And then the last thing that I learned along the way about leadership, these are like the top things I think about, is it's all about transferring the belief that you have to other people. And I've watched it happen in the month of April so much on this team. It was so cool for me to see people who have been on this team for 2, 3, 4, 5 years step into their leader shoes without anyone asking. They were choosing to go live in the team pages. No one asked them to, and train on something. They were just choosing to go off and start these projects or start the flash sale or go off and do these things because they know that it's going to help them, but also help other people. There's this switch that happens, right? So transferring that belief that you have to others. I don't know if you guys saw the quick little video that I made yesterday in the team page about having that unwavering belief in yourself is so important, and in Beachbody, because there's going to be people along the way that don't believe in you, that don't sign up with you, that quit on you. And if your belief is not unwavering, that's going to affect your confidence level. That's going to affect the way that you're leading other people. The quote I wrote down this morning that I feel like unless you read it yourself, it doesn't really make sense, but I wanted to read it to you guys. It says, "The leader must know that he knows, and must be able to make it abundantly clear to those around him that he knows." Like, knows his shit, right? Like, doesn't matter what it is, confident people know that they're going to figure it out. And I think sometimes the only extra little oomph that's missing in a coach's Instagram stories, or just the way that they look in their photos authentically, just having that little extra pep in their step, that they're showing up to the world in a big way and they're like, hey, I'm here to help you. I've helped myself, and now I'm so freaking excited to help you. And there's so many leaders on our team and in this business that I immediately think of that they just know. And it's abundantly clear that they know that they can help people. It's like really hard for me sometimes to put my thoughts into words other than using examples. So today when I was just kind of brain dumping everything, I'm like, I hope this makes sense to the team. So also, like, the true meaning of leadership, according to the gurus, is influence. It's really not like, sometimes people think of leadership like really boring stuff, like how to get on a team call and speak, or how to make a presentation, or how to teach becoming a diamond coach. And it's really not. That's why I say it's all about transferring that belief to other people. And I'm really bummed that Coach Summit is canceled this year, because I see people rise at Summit when you actually get put to the test to be around a group of people and build up that community, make that connection, have conversations in person, I feel like that is where a lot of people really start to see their potential with being a leader in this business. And being able to transfer that belief to other people at Summit has been something I love doing. When I meet someone for the first time in person and I know like their life story, their family story, I know enough about them because I've been paying attention. And then they're like, they say to me, I didn't even think you knew who I was, Colleen. And I'm like, I'm always paying attention. And it's being able to transfer that belief to other people that I see you, I notice you. And so if there's challengers in your group, if there's coaches on your team, whether or not they are your personally sponsored coach, make sure that you guys always keep in your mind how you can take the belief that you have, because you're leading yourself first, and transferring that to other people. That alone is going to light people up to become their own leader. Also, I will say that leadership is not about you knowing it all. It's a huge misconception. A lot of people think that they have to know all the things about Star Diamond, 15-star Diamond, how to earn money. Leadership is not about that. Remember, leadership is about transferring belief to other people. Leadership is about serving people. So it's not about knowing it all, and it's not about doing the work for them. Over the years, I've come across this fear that some people have, and this might hit home for some of the questions that you guys are writing in the chat box. Some people are afraid to create a team because they don't know how to lead them. And I'm using quotations with my fingers right now. Because you don't really like all of a sudden have this big team of coaches and then all of a sudden have to teach them how to be successful. Your goal is to have excited, passionate people join you who are also confident and open and willing to be coachable. And all together, you guys become a successful team because they're willing to show up and do the work themselves. And so for me, I remember when I was a new coach, I was signing up a lot of coaches early on, and they didn't want to do the business. They were just honestly excited for the discount. Like challenge groups were super new. We were doing them on Facebook back then. And I remember like one of my like top challengers said that they didn't want to become a coach because they were so afraid of like being able to manage and help other people be successful. And I told them, I said, the first thing that you have to do is lead yourself. And as you start to learn little things, you just start kind of dropping it in the team page and teaching them along the way. It's all about building that relationship. So my coach didn't do the work for me. I haven't done the work for Candace or Janelle or Britt or, you know, any of the coaches I'm staring at right now. I haven't done the work for them in the slightest bit. All I did was focused on leading myself first and kind of setting the bar. And then the people who want to and choose to, they show up. Like I think of our Rockstar newer coach right now, Victoria, who just hit Diamond last week or the week before. I didn't lift a finger for her. I didn't like go and do the work for her. I paved the way, her coach paved the way, like all the leaders have kind of paved the way, and she chose to show up because she saw other people showing up. You see how that works? So it's not about you having to do any work for them. Do you have to show up in a big way and serve your team and like teach them things? Of course, but there's not really a handbook for that. And I think that's where people kind of get stuck. There's not like a perfect blueprint to leadership and leading a team. You just have to be willing to show up and grow yourself as a person and learn with your team along the way. And it's also not about you managing them. There's a big shift that happened like way back in the 1980s that you'll read a lot about in leadership books where, you know, back in the day where it was just like you go to work, you collect a paycheck and you come home. Like entrepreneurial world wasn't that big. But as soon as entrepreneurial businesses and opportunities started to open up, leadership started to develop as like a culture. No longer was your boss just pointing the finger and telling you to show up at 8 a.m. and leave at 5. It was more about creating relationships, creating like team culture and all that. And so it's not about managing people. Once I sign up a coach, I tell them what I expect of them. They see me showing up. They see the kind of person that I am. They see the kind of team that we have here. And it's up to them if they want to come be a part of that. And so just create the environment for people And for me, as far as like leading coaches, and again, I don't want to use the word managing them, but when you sign up a new coach, you have to create that relationship. And so just keep it simple for yourself. Choose whatever method that you want, whether it's email. I think personal message, text message right now is what I'm doing. I have my new coaches text me. And after that very first text message, it's very obvious who's going to show up and who's not. If the coach is messaging me questions, I answer them. And I tell them, I say, I'm at your service for the first 30 days to ask me questions, use the team page and things like that. And then after your first month, I'm going to challenge you to kind of become your own leader just a little bit more, because I didn't start this business 7 years ago to be texting 40 coaches a day. I started this business so that I can create leaders who then go off and create a team for themselves. I love, love, love when I watch a coach surpass me in accolades or in income and things like that. It just makes me so excited because I'm not needed anymore, which is sometimes like a bittersweet feeling when you push a coach out of the nest. But please don't feel like you guys have to manage them. It's more about setting the tone and the expectation and working together as a team and wanting the best for them. That will come with time. I hit diamond in 52 days, and then I was a diamond for a long time. And then I was 1-star diamond for a long time. And guess who my first diamond was? My husband. So it wasn't like I was actually mentoring my new diamond coach. I was just, creating his account. This is why we make such a big deal out of 2-star diamond, because typically when you hit 2-star diamond, that's when you're actually required to start mentoring a coach to grow their team and their business. I just want to go back and answer one of these questions too. How do I not get in my own head about it? I might need a little bit more, be a little bit more specific about that question. So if you know anything about me, I talk a lot about PD. I talk a lot about mindset. Overthinking is a habit, right? Overthinking is a habit that we've had most of our lives. I don't suffer from overthinking. So I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question, but I know a lot of people in the coaching world do struggle with that. I couldn't tell if my child was screaming or laughing. Sorry, this is why I need to plug in my headphones. Should have done that first. Make sure you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, no more squirrel brain. Not getting in your own head about leadership. You have to master layer 1 first. And I'm going to pull up a graphic probably towards the end of the call so I can kind of just get all my head and heart about leadership off first. But getting in your own head about leadership before you're a diamond coach is something you don't even need to worry about, because becoming a diamond coach is really honestly 8 coaches signed up on your team and 2 of them have become emeralds. And I don't think that becoming a diamond coach requires a lot of leadership. I think that becoming a diamond coach and becoming like that really solid foundational coach is about leading yourself first. And so on the journey to, I'm going to use the benchmark of being a diamond coach as like the start of being a leader. I don't think it means you're a leader. I think it's the beginning of being a leader. But I really feel like it's all about getting people excited, and you have to keep your blinders on. And just remember that everything rises and falls in how you lead yourself. So what are you doing today to set the example, to get people passionate and excited to join you? And if I go to, that's why we are such a huge social media team, because I don't know how else you would share your message, your passion, and your excitement in this like day and age today without social media. I mean, some people do it belly to belly. I mean, right now, no one's doing anything belly to belly. No one is really going out in person and like having parties in this current moment. Maybe after all this coronavirus is done, that can be like an option for people. But leading by example through social media is honestly 99.999% of what I've done for almost 7 years. So getting in your own head about leadership as a newer coach, that shouldn't be as much of a conflict as long as you're focusing on leading yourself. Then once you master leading yourself and you go on to starting to help someone else, you've mastered how to lead yourself. You just have to teach someone how you did that. You have to teach someone how you consistently showed up. You have to teach someone how you created awesome challenge groups. So I hope that that kind of clarifies that a little bit. And overthinking a lot comes from either not taking action or not completing projects or just not having good confidence. So if you can get more specific about that, maybe you did in the comments, I didn't read, but how do you deal with times of self-doubt about leading? I'm such a question asker. I would say what specifically, like give me an example. Self-doubt, I don't think that self-doubt in leadership of others really go hand in hand. I think more so it's about like leading yourself. And so if you're lacking confidence, I always tell people, what's your intention? What action are you taking? And how consistently are you doing it? That equals your confidence level. And so for a lot of new coaches, this is why we say show up consistently, show up consistently, show up consistently, because that practice is going to be what builds your confidence up. And I feel like you just have to be okay with being new in the beginning. A lot of new coaches are not willing to be seen small, and people don't join you because you're a 10-star diamond coach. People don't join you because you have 1,000 coaches on your team. People don't even join you because you earn 6 figures. I just have to put that out there. Like, I have shown all the shiny things, and that's not why people join me. People join me because they want the lifestyle, the happiness, the joy, the confidence that we have as a collective team. Okay, so having that self-doubt all comes back to who is the person that I am becoming and how big am I challenging myself. Leadership can be so challenging. And I feel like, again, I think back to my past jobs. I think back to my past athletic opportunities. And early on in my life, without even realizing it, I had all these leadership opportunities where I had to rise to the occasion and fall on my face for years and years and years, especially working at Verizon as a store manager. This is like in the early days of smartphones launching, and it was a shit show, but I just threw myself out there every single day. So when it came time to sign up to be a coach, I didn't even blink. The fact that I had to show up and share my journey as like a diary entry and a blog entry every day didn't even faze me, because I'm like, that seems kind of easy compared to all the other things I've done. So give yourself grace if this is maybe more of the first leadership challenge that you've experienced. If this is the first time that you've been required to lead yourself in a whole new way, recreate new habits, like give yourself that time. And I think Haley, I could be wrong, Haley, but I think you and I have talked before about like your fear of success and leading other people. And I consistently just always remind people that your goal when you're going into phase 2 of leading others is to teach other people how you created phase 1. That's why this business is so unique, because the way that I created leading myself looks a lot different than how everyone else in this business did. That's why it's not just a Beachbody business. It's specific to every single coach, and they're going to join you because of what you're putting out there, what team culture you're building, what your beliefs are. Everyone's vibes are so different, and that's why getting to know yourself, claiming that confidence is so huge. I also want to say too, I've been noticing lately in the team page, some people would say like, oh, I needed that. Oh, it's like you're talking to me. And when I started personal development, I'll never forget, the very first book I ever read was The Compound Effect. And it wasn't a blaring, life-altering book for me, but the second book that I read was Thinking for a Change by John C. Maxwell, not a leadership book. And that was the moment for me where it felt like the author was poking me in the head, being like, Colleen, you, and singling me out and speaking right into my heart and soul. When you guys have these light bulb moments, when you guys are having these aha moments, like, oh my God, I needed that. This is where you put on your leadership hat, you get on social media and you teach other people how to think. This is how you create influence, by taking the life skills and the lifestyle and the things that you're learning and you go teach it. Does that make sense? Right? So we're teaching people how to eat healthy, but guess what? You're not really teaching someone how to eat healthy. The program is. You don't have to make someone drink a shake. You're not teaching them how to do a workout. You're setting the level of expectation. You're showing them what's possible. You're influencing people by showing them your daily, to-dos and what you're doing. That influence is going to be what helps you kind of create your leadership style almost. In the beginning, to be honest, my leadership style was sink or swim. If you want to join me and run with me, hop on the train. I'm going with or without you. Over the years, I've learned that people need a lot more love and empathy and encouragement and recognition than that. And I'm still always working on it because, to be honest, like, my coach didn't baby me and hold my hand, and like, I got the recognition when I rank advanced, but like, there wasn't a lot of that back and forth love, team culture building stuff in the beginning. And I feel like, oh, well, my coach didn't have to drag me to success, so I'm not going to drag my coaches to success. So I had to learn some bad lessons and some good lessons in terms of how to empower other people and encourage them. If you guys haven't heard of love languages before, that's good. There's also a lot of personality tests and Enneagrams, and getting to know what motivates your people, getting to know what your people need, getting to know what the team needs is a skill that you'll develop over time. But to keep it kind of more leadership 101 for today, I want you guys to feel, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to feel like an 8 or a 9, that you're leading yourself to your best ability. Are you using a daily success club tracker? Are you getting results? Are you doing those daily vital behaviors? Are you inviting people? Are you filling challenge groups up? I'm like, what else does a coach do? Do you recognize people? Do you read your personal development? All of that on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself. Where do you stand? Your goal is to kind of get to that 8 or 9, and I don't think we'll ever get to a 10 because we're always changing and the world is always changing. So we're always going to be evolving in that kind of way. Do I work when my husband and son go to bed at night? So you have to remember, I've been doing this a long time. And when I first started, point blank, guys, I spent every waking moment, I did not have a child, growing this business. And a lot of times I was up till 11:30. The older I've gotten, now that I have a kid, I've been through a lot of health stuff. I don't stare at a computer past 8 p.m. Very rarely will you find me doing a night grind. But in the beginning, for years, I probably put in like 40 to 60 hours a week on Beachbody. I really did. And to be honest, if I was to break down the beginning, I would say 40% of the hours spent was my face in a book. These are like, look at how old this book looks. It looks like, it's like, so, oh, you can't really tell. It's like yellow and aged. Like, I read this book so long ago. This is Developing the Leaders Around You. I'll give you guys all my favorite recommendations for books, but 40% of my time, because I knew in the beginning, I'm like, Colleen, your skills are not strong as an entrepreneur. You have no idea what you're doing. Your mindset is super weak. Back to Casey's question. Is it Cassie or Casey? Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Casey, I think. If you have the question of what do I do when I feel self-doubt, boom, that's your opportunity for personal growth right there. And don't wait for me to tell you, don't wait for your coach to tell you to go and find the books or the professional help or, whatever development you need. That's the difference between a Beachbody coach who shows up and drinks shakes and does a workout and posts on social media versus the person who's the CEO that is like, hey, I'm really struggling in this area. They go and proactively develop those skills on their own. So sorry, I got sidetracked on Kiana's question, but right now, no, I'm not working at night. It goes against all of my heart and soul currently to stare at any computer. If you're going to do anything at night, like a lot of us might scroll on our computer and things like that, just spend time developing yourself, whether it's reading. I'm like a huge brain dumper. I bought this iPad Pro so that I could literally just like always pour my heart and soul onto a piece of paper. I'm just such a creative person that I'm always thinking, but to get things done like scheduling posts or having combos, I guess take a look at your day. And if you feel like you are thriving at nighttime and you can wake up a refreshed mama still, but that would be a struggle for me personally. If you can wake up a refreshed, best you, best mama by getting your work done at night, I say do it. And that might change in 6 months, 2 months, a year, whatever. We're always changing. But I say like for things like that should, for me, having conversations is a nap time hustle because I cannot do my life work, which is having conversations with people when my son's around. I just can't. Like right now I'm at the point that, I haven't had any breaks with not having school or anything like that. This is like literally my first break since last coffee chat last week. And so I cannot have conversations and get excited to help people when my son is like pulling on my arm. So scheduling posts, totally. He can be crawling on my leg and I don't really like need my brain for that necessarily. So really structure your day and try to find the hours where you know you're going to do your best work. If that's before your son gets up, that's when you do it. If it's during his nap, that's when you do it. If it's nighttime, you know, like you're the boss of that. But I do feel like you need to have optimal output at a certain time of day, you know? And for some people it's scattered, but I just know like in the leadership world, in the Brendon Burchard world, he says, you know, 60% of your time of your day. So let's say you work 5 hours a day. 60% of that 5 hours a day needs to be your top-notch work. The other 40% can be scheduling posts, can be playing with Lightroom presets or, you know, things like that. But there has to be a chunk of time where you're pouring your time into really what moves the needle in your business. But that's, you get to decide what that is for you. And I didn't have a kid early on in the beginning. And I grew this business specifically knowing that I would have a kid someday. So I know like the timing for me, I was very intentional with that. What are my top 3 things you do daily to get yourself in a good headspace and move my business forward? So for me, I love reading personal development. I love listening to Brendon Burchard's YouTube videos. I absolutely love thinking of what my social media post for the day is going to be, creating that story. Ever since I read Stories That Stick, that is almost like an obsessive habit for me, because I feel like it's a strength for me. It's fun. I get to pour my joy into that. So coming up with my content for the day, that's actually part of putting myself in a good headspace for this business. When I was really, really good, back when I went to Brendon Burchard before like this last crazy month, for me, doing his release meditation, which is on YouTube, was my favorite 20 minutes of the day. I know Haley is a great primer of energy to get into a good headspace, but almost knowing what my work schedule for the day is going to be. Like today I woke up knowing that I had to be very specific with my time before this call. I had to write out my notes. I had to get into a space where I was going to serve people. So I feel like knowing what I have to do for each day before I go to bed is really helpful for me in mastering my time. So you should have a planner and you should know tonight before you go to bed what you're going to wake up and what you're going to tackle tomorrow. I feel like bringing the joy and bringing my own energy is a strength of mine because I've worked on that for so many years. But having conversation, I love follow-ups too. I know it's weird, but putting me in a good headspace, following up with people makes me so excited because there's always something new to talk about with them. I love asking them how they are doing. 9 times out of 10, if I'm following up with someone, well, obviously they haven't joined me yet. And so I know that there's a need. I know I have a solution for them. And I'm so excited to hear how they're doing. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they need some love or they need some help. So I love being able to chat with them and offer a solution. 14 children. Holy moly. I have 1 child and it feels like 14. Okay, so in the beginning, someone asked what planner I recommend. In the beginning used Blue Sky from Target. I had to go way back in my mind. And for me, I needed the hourly breakdown. So every season or every like new year, I would go to Target right before the new year hit and I would wait for their big planner like section to be released. And I would look for the specific ones that had the hourly breakdown. Right now I'm using the High Performance Planner by Brendon Burchard. And I also like his because I think I did a team call on this before. He teaches you how to set your intention for the day. And he talks about having your top 3 goals and priorities. So these are, I know you can't see it, but I only pick 3 priorities for each day. That's it. I don't have a to-do list of 25 things. Why? Because that is not efficient. It's not going to work. So my top 3 priorities for this day. And then he also has right here tasks that absolutely must be done today. And so if you're struggling with leading yourself in discipline, sticking to a planner like this, the High Performance Planner, is going to be so helpful for you guys. He also has a morning mindset section. He also has an evening journal, and then you rate yourself at the end of the night on how you did for the day. Self-awareness is huge for that. I think I also used Erin Condren before I got this one, and I had the hourly breakdown because you can go online and customize yours. But what I found with planning is I was managing time versus managing like my work, if that makes sense. Like putting down, like do my workout, putting down like coffee chat, like, yeah, managing my time, cool. But Brandon requires very specific areas of leading myself, leading others, setting intentions, being clear. Am I challenging myself? Did I give love today? Like all areas of life are in here. I love that it's not just about my Beachbody business. Like it also encompasses like my marriage in here, my relationships, what I did for myself, all the above. I'm kind of a planner nerd too. Okay, so a couple other things I wanted to talk about for leadership, and if you guys have more questions, you guys can keep going. This was a really powerful exercise for me that I did back in the day. So if you can think of the person that you look up to the most, doesn't have to be in Beachbody, it can be anyone in your life who's like top 3, that person changed my life. That person has influenced the person I am today. And I want you to think about, why do they inspire you? What are some things they've done? What are some things they've said to you? What are some actions that they've taken that have really stuck in your mind to make that person stand out? What's made them extraordinary? This is the important one. What characteristics do they have? What skills do they have? And then you have to challenge yourself to be more like them. And I've always done that. So anytime, like the person that inspired me was my manager back in the Verizon Wireless days. And I was 22 years old managing like this massive store. I think back to it was kind of crazy. And I always used to say, what would Josh do? And you guys all know WWJD is typically what would Jesus do? And so I changed it to what would Josh do? Because he was kind of like the person I put on the pedestal. And when I left Verizon to move out to California, or that store, he gave me a pen that I still have that says WWJD on it. And I think anytime that I'm running into an issue with coaching or running into a conversation that I don't know how to approach it, that can be a leadership skill and kind of like mindset trigger for the next time that you don't know what to do. Think about that person and what do you think they would do? What skills would they apply? What characteristics would they bring out? And I think about my coach all the time too. Liz is such a chill, cool person. She doesn't get aggro. She doesn't go off the deep end. She doesn't get mad and like pissed off about things. So when a really difficult situation arises, I always ask myself, how would Liz handle this? And from working with her over the years, she's taught me and she set that level of like, expectation. So that was something that really helped me in the world of leadership. Let me pull up my screen because I told you guys I was going to share the layers of leadership with you. So this is what Christina Delgado taught me a long time. This needs to be updated. Some of this jargon probably wouldn't even make sense because like old terms. This is just to give you guys an idea, okay? I really want you to focus on like layer 1. Layer 1 is about leading yourself. Personal development is at the top. Are you proof that Beachbody works? Do you have a product-based story? Do you have any type of financial-based story? Paid for my groceries, put gas in my car, bought the diapers, paid for daycare, paid my rent, whatever it is. And do you have an experience-based story? That's why I was telling you guys that when you learn something from your coaches, when you learn something from your challengers, that's an experience-based story that you honing in on the skill of being able to like think of how to come up with a post on social media and share that with other people is so important. Let's say, if you've been to Summit for the first time, you have to be able to share with other people your experience. It's not just about the before and after. There's so much more. Also, some very important key skills. And 9 times out of 10, I still use this entire layer of leadership thing when I'm working with a new coach. Like I can close my eyes and I know what this graphic says now. And I'll say, this person is really good at inviting, but they're really struggling with their social media, or they need a little bit more help with their social media because their invites aren't working because their social media isn't strong, or their communication. Some people really struggle with communicating with their challengers, or bringing some life to a challenge group. Key skills like Shakeology. Actually, back when this graphic was made, we didn't have the Beachbody performance line, but being able to speak to Shakeology, why you love it, why you use it, how it's helped you, how it can help other people, like learning all this. These are key skills that coaches have to have. And knowing kind of what your niche and what your brand is, what your message is also another skill. And so that alone can sometimes take a coach 6 months. That alone can sometimes take a coach a year. I've worked with many coaches that the social media piece was really difficult, or being able to speak to our products in a way that like aren't salesy. These are all skills that you'll learn. Some people are quicker, some people, it's just all so different. In layer 1, a coach is achieving Success Club. They're adding new coaches, they're hosting challenge groups, they're doing their daily work. They at least understand the basics of our compensation plan. And so guys, if you're worried about leadership and you haven't mastered the majority of things in this first layer, don't worry about leadership. Worry about mastering these things for yourself first. You develop a CEO mindset. This is a huge one. Engages with the team and Team Beachbody in some way daily. There's some coaches that are so good at what they do behind the scenes, but sometimes I have no idea that they even are like actively working their business because I haven't seen them on a call, or I haven't seen them in the team page. That's important because someday you're going to be leading a team. And let me tell you, it sucks when you're the one out there blabbing and posting and working and getting excited, and then no one answers back. Okay, so it's really important to know that you have to come back and engage with the team, because you're going to have to set the expectation and the standard for your team someday. Attends events. If you haven't been to a super weekend, I don't know when events will come back being a thing, but showing up on national wake-up calls, showing up on any of the virtual events that we have, these are all important. Establishes boundaries and business hours. Very important. Because I didn't have a kid in the beginning, I feel like I could kind of get away with more. But if I worked like I did then now with my family, my marriage probably wouldn't exist, and I would not be a good mom. Establish those boundaries and those business hours and stick to them. I know that like we can't necessarily send our kid to daycare right now, or have babysitters or nannies, or maybe you do, or asking husband or wife for help, but make sure that you speak up if you need help. I have so many friends that will not speak up when they need help. Like I tell Sean, like Tuesday are my work days where I need you to be my other half. I need you to get up, get Nixon. Like my mind is on work. I'm going to need you to help me on this day. If your husband or wife or whoever's home at a specific time and you need the help, establish those boundaries and speak up, because you're trying to do something really big and bold and brave right now by growing this business on top of your current life. You're going to need that extra help. Schedules, you schedule in non-negotiable personal time, because it's really easy to just work and work and work and then burn out and then not like Beachbody anymore because you didn't establish boundaries and schedule personal time. It's happened to me before too. So I'm not going to go into like layer 2 and 3, but I think you get the point. Once you start to master that first level here, then you can start to think about, and there's a lot of you that are in layer 2 right now. You know your coaches' why and their motivations. You know your team flow and your system. If you have calls, you're hosting some type of training and team calls. You're creating growth opportunities. This is a huge one. Like Britt Tolson last week, she said, hey, let's do a flash sale. She came up with the idea. She was hosting it. She was taking action proactively without me saying it or without someone else saying it. And so you'll start to see that these things come into your leadership role as you're leading your team. And I think this is such a great checklist of things to just kind of start to think about. Are you recognizing your team? Do you know how to do like a little 45-minute presentation on how to teach the compensation plan? And guess what? If you're like, I don't know how to do that, maybe you don't even need to do that right now. These are just, I'd rather you know what's coming up at some point for you than you just to feel like you have no idea. Because that alone makes people freeze up and they feel like they can't be a leader because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. This is just kind of like a long-term, over 7-8 years, a little bit of a roadmap for you guys. Just some things to think about. understands important deadlines, rallies teams to attend summit. That's actually like a really big one. Controls emotional state, because guys, shit's gonna happen. You're gonna lose your rank, people quit and whatever. That's something that I've really had to learn over the years of, you know, bless and release is something that my coach taught me. She's like, you can get super wrapped up in that, or you can control the controllable. Also, understanding trends and issues. So for example, this $20 off, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. This $20 off promotion that we're having, understand that this isn't just a time to treat things as normal. This is a time that there's a trend. With BOD groups, we have McSperry Energize. You have to be able to identify that this is a time to hype it up, that this is a time to, 10x your invites, 10x your follow-ups and things like that. And so if every month is the same for you, this is where I want to challenge you to focus on those, items that we talked about, leading yourself first. And maybe you're leading yourself, you're like, all right, I feel good here. Maybe just start to adopt a couple things from layer 2 and start to kind of challenge yourself. And so every 3 months is what I've always said. I challenge myself to look back, to analyze, to say, what do I need to change? What do I need to amp up? What do I need to delete? And I kind of create a new me in the back ends of my business and in my mindset as a leader every 3 months. Always changing, always growing. Oh, out of breath. Oh, my background? Yeah, that's actually like a really old picture of Autumn and I from leadership in Arizona. All right, did we have other questions about leadership? I think I answered the ones that you guys had. In my notes, I also I wrote down for like having influence with people, we don't want a crowd. A lot of people think that they want the followers or they want like just this massive crowd following them. You want a movement, right? So you want to create the people or create a team of people who want to show up with you and have the same thoughts and have the same beliefs and values as you and that are as excited as you. And influence grows in stages. So it's not all going to happen at once. And that's why I always tell my new coaches, like, I set the expectation that it was going to take me 2 years to prove to people that this was a real thing and that I meant business. And watch me, I'm going to take it to the top kind of mentality. And because I had that mindset and I went all in, it happened faster for me. So my influence grew in stages as people like 6 months later were like, wow, she's still on that high of showing up like she said she was gonna. She wasn't all talk. She is still showing up here. And I feel like there's this tipping point that happens when you gain that momentum, when you really start to build that credibility with other people where they know that you mean business. That's what attraction marketing is, that magnetic vibe that people are like, I want a piece of what she has right now. I'll make sure that I upload the leadership, the layers of leadership. I had a lot more notes. Oh, I told you guys I would share resources too and books. I have a lot more notes, but I just wanted to make sure that I was like speaking from the heart and just kind of things that popped into my mind. But we did the exercise. Oh, one last thing that I will say too. So when uncertainty strikes, right? So like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or, oh, what's happening here? Kind of like that freak out, uncomfortable, I don't know what I'm doing kind of mentality or a situation. When uncertainty strikes, most people pull away to a safe place to protect themselves. But leaders shift, lean in, and deal with it head on. I always think of Jessica Lanier. She's like my favorite. She's 10 times more talented at this than me. But anytime if there's an issue, she's like, all right, what are we going to do about it? She doesn't sit there and talk about it and dwell on it and stress about it. She's just like, okay, what do I do now? And she just head first dives in with a solution and starts coming up with ideas. And that's that little difference of like the Beachbody coaches versus the CEOs that really, really take off with this. But okay, here are my top 3 people/resources for you guys that have helped me, shape me to be who I am as a leader today. Actually, I'm going to give you 4. The first one is John C. Maxwell, obviously. There is a book called Developing the Leader Within You. And then I would say that's going to be for layer 1. And then layer 2 would be developing the leaders around you. And that was this one here. And I was looking at it and like, all I did was highlight and write in this book. Like, it's just like, it's all highlighted basically. Another good book is How to Influence People. This is actually like a smaller read. If you guys are diamond and above, I suggest reading the Laws of Leadership and do the workbook, because there's actually like questions that he asks you. This is what I would call like an experience, because he requires that you go and apply it to your business. Again, more dry, but if you guys are diamonds and above, you have your hands wet with helping people start their coaching business, or, you know, start their health and fitness career. I feel like if you have the mindset to go big with this, this is going to be what really, and this is going to take you time. Like, this isn't a book that you're going to read in a month. There's a lot to this. And you can always like read another book and do this workbook too. This is his newest book. If you're already feeling like a leader, but you're like, I want more, Leader Shift is a really good one too. So John C. Maxwell is the leadership guru. Brendon Burchard, I honestly feel like, unless you've seen Brendon speak, or if you've already been into Brendon before, watch Brendon's YouTube videos. I even think that his YouTubes are better than his podcast, because there's just something magnetic about him that watching him speak. And his YouTube videos are short and concise. So he teaches me how to set the tone and the expectation, not for leading people, but for leading myself. And the last one is John Gordon, and he wrote The Energy Bus. I think a lot of people on this team have actually read that. But basically, The Energy Bus is going to teach you how to get other people to get on the energy bus and have the same energy as you. But it's also going to require a new energy from yourself. And if you're a more advanced leader, You Win in the Locker Room First is another book I read just this past 6 months by John Gordon. And that's a great one for building team culture and things like that. So it's the unsexy stuff, but it's all necessary. I feel like sometimes we forget that we're running a real business, and sometimes we just want to do all the fun things, which is like social media and Instagram stories and looking cute. And I'm like, there's so much more that goes into creating this business behind the scenes, especially because it involves people. So make sure that you challenge yourself to do the unsexy stuff sometimes too. All right, you are welcome. I still have more to teach you guys on leadership. For example, like how to do a getting started right call. Like, these are all plans that I have. Like, if you sign up a new coach, I really want to teach you guys what that should sound like, what it should look like. I think that those are good skills we can work on. All right, well, I'm gonna.
Wait, Colleen, I have one more question.
Yes.
It'll be faster to just ask it instead of type it.
No worries.
So have you ever run into this, or if you do, how would you, what would your comeback sound like? Because I have 2 girls in my head who I'm thinking about right now, and they are signed up with Beachbody On Demand, but they have that leadership mentality. And then I'll be like, hey, you should really consider, just think about being a coach and making this a side hustle to your other job or whatever. But then they say it's just they feel like they don't have the money to buy the Shakeology every month. Is it even worth your energy to be like, well, you could, help 3 people and it would pay for itself, and then everything else would just go into your pocket? Or is it just kind of okay, I'm going to respect you where you're at, and maybe whenever it's the right time for you, then we can talk more about it?
That's actually a really great question. So I have found that when I meet someone or they join me, I almost know their potential right away. And if you have that belief in them, not just because that they're posting in your, it's so easy to be like, oh my God, someone's posting in my challenge group, they'd make a great coach. You know what I mean? It's so easy to want them to be an amazing coach. If you really deep down think that this person has the capacity, the ability, the willingness, the wanting to go and help other people in a big way, dig in a little bit deeper. And here's how I kind of go about that. I honestly feel like if someone is already sharing on social media, that's kind of my first thing. what I have found is that if I find this great challenger that's like in my challenge group and they're posting, but they're so secretive and like they're so blocked off to anything other than being in a private group, it's going to take a lot of begging and pleading for that coach to like open up their mind. And I feel like maybe down the line, they'll need Beachbody coaching. They might need the opportunity, but it is just over 7 years. I've tried to convince people like that opening up their social media and sharing their story will inspire people, but they're just not open to it. And so if you feel like that person totally is open to the idea of learning about coaching and sharing their story, documenting it, like doing what we do, dig in with that person and like maybe kind of ask them that and say like, hey, I think that you're a great challenger when you show up here in my group and you're just like loving your workouts and things like that. I get excited when you post in my group. Do you feel like you'd be open to sharing your journey and documenting it so that you can help inspire other people? Like, is that something you're open to? And if their answer is yes, then I feel like they have to be willing in some way, shape, or form to try our products to like build that belief a little bit more. So, I mean, I'm so stubborn. Like I refuse to kind of convince someone to spend money. I'm like, if you don't want to like use this awesome product because you see me doing it, like I really struggle with convincing someone to be willing to spend money on themselves because I'm not that person. And so if you kind of feel like you have to beg them to like buy a product, I just don't even know if that type of person would be the coach that I'd want to be like, hey, come join me. Because I want someone who's like, oh my God, like I want Shakeology so bad. But like, okay, maybe I'll do it next month. You know, like give them the chance and the environment to be open to it. But if you feel like you're just dragging them to try a product, I don't know, they might not be the best fit. As far as like spending the money, I do tell people, I'm trying to help you earn an income, not spend money. That's the first thing I say to them. Like if they're open to coaching, because my goal is to help them earn the cost of their product plus more. I tell them that. I say, if you're willing to show up, share on social media, talk to some people because you love this so much, my number one goal is to help you earn an income with this. That's what I tell them. That was like a 10-minute answer, but.
No, that was perfect. And I totally, I heard every word and I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right. Love you guys. You're all the best. Love your questions. And I don't know if we'll have a speaker next week or if it'll be me, but I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.